Hey everyone! Before we start this incredible story, tell me in the comments, where are you watching this video from? And if you have any similar or interesting stories that happened to you, share them too. Who knows, your story might become the next video on the channel. Now let's dive into this story that will touch your emotions. Sophia adjusted her cleaning uniform for the third time in 5 minutes. The cheap fabric scratched against her skin, and the chemical stain seemed to stand out even more under the fluorescent lights of the elevator. She gripped the cleaning cart tightly as the numbers on the panel climbed. 15, 16, 17, 22nd floor, she murmured to herself, checking the crumpled paper in her hand once more. It was her first day at the new night cleaning job in the city's most luxurious building. She needed this job desperately. Her mother's medical bills wouldn't pay themselves. The elevator stopped with a gentle ding, and the doors opened. Sophia pushed her cart forward and immediately realized something was wrong. Instead of the quiet hallway she expected to find, she was greeted by an explosion of golden light, soft music, and the tinkling of crystal glasses. "Oh my God!" she whispered, freezing in place. Before her stretched the most magnificent ballroom she had ever seen. Crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceiling, casting prismatic reflections across marble-covered walls. Men in impeccable tuxedos and women in gowns that cost more than her yearly salary circulated elegantly through the space, chatting in small groups. Sophia realized her mistake immediately. She should be on the 22nd floor, not the 23rd. But before she could retreat to the elevator, the doors closed behind her with a definitive click. "Excuse me," a deep, educated voice spoke beside her. Sophia turned quickly and found herself face to face with a tall man with perfectly styled silver hair and penetrating blue eyes. He wore a tuxedo that seemed to have been made especially for him, and a watch that certainly cost more than her house. I'm so sorry," Sophia stammered, trying to push the cart back toward the elevator. "I got the wrong floor. I work in cleaning and—" "Wait," the man said, raising an elegant hand. "Are you all right? You seem nervous." Sophia felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "I'm fine, sir. I just need to leave before someone notices I shouldn't be here." The man studied her face for a moment, and Sophia noticed something strange in his eyes. It wasn't contempt or irritation, but something that seemed curious, compassionate. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Sophia," she answered automatically, then regretted it. She shouldn't be giving personal information. "Sir, I really need to go." "Sophia is a beautiful name," he smiled. "My name is Alexander Montague. And you know what I think? I think you arrived at exactly the right moment." Before Sophia could protest, Alexander gestured to one of the waiters circulating through the ballroom. The young man approached immediately, carrying a tray of champagne flutes. "2 glasses, please," Alexander said calmly. "Sir, I can't." Sophia began, but Alexander had already taken 2 glasses and offered one to her. "Can you do something for me?" he asked, completely ignoring the cleaning cart. "Can you keep me company for a few minutes? These parties can be terribly boring when you're alone." Sophia looked around nervously. Some of the guests had noticed their conversation and were watching her with poorly disguised curiosity. She could hear the whispers beginning. "Who is she? Where did she come from? What an interesting dress." Alexander seemed to notice the direction of her gaze and did something that completely surprised Sophia. He removed his tuxedo jacket and, with a gentlemanly gesture, placed it over her shoulders. "That's better," he said with a warm smile. "Now, tell me about yourself, Sophia. What do you do besides working here?" Sophia held the champagne glass with trembling hands. Alexander's jacket was soft and smelled of expensive, masculine cologne. She had never felt such fine fabric in her life. I study at night," she said hesitantly. "Nursing. I want to help people." "Nursing," Alexander repeated, and his eyes lit up. "What a noble profession. My mother was a nurse before she married my father." Sophia looked at him with surprise. "Really?" "Absolutely," he confirmed. "She always said there's no more important profession than taking care of others." "Tell me more about your studies." As Sophia spoke, timidly at first but with growing confidence, Alexander listened attentively. He asked intelligent questions, showed genuine interest in her answers, and Sophia found herself relaxing for the first time in weeks. You have a glow in your eyes when you talk about helping people, Alexander observed after she described a college project. It's rare to find someone with such genuine passion. At that moment, an elegant woman with platinum hair and a red dress that seemed to have cost a fortune approached them. Her eyes narrowed when she saw Sophia. "Alexander, darling," she said with a sweet voice that didn't completely disguise her irritation. "Aren't you going to introduce me to your company?" "Of course," Alexander replied, maintaining his polite tone. "Victoria, this is Sophia. Sophia, this is Victoria Ashworth, an old family friend." Victoria extended a hand with perfectly manicured nails, but Sophia noticed she was analyzing her from head to toe with a critical gaze. "How interesting," Victoria murmured. "I don't recognize you from the usual social circles. Where did you two meet?" Sophia felt her blood freeze. How could she explain that she had entered the party by accident? That she was there to clean the floor below? That she didn't belong in this world? Alexander, however, didn't seem the least bit disturbed. "Sophia is special," he said simply. "She reminds me why it's important to keep your feet on the ground, even when you have your head in the clouds." Victoria frowned, clearly confused by the enigmatic response, but before she could ask more questions, Alexander offered his arm to Sophia. "Shall we take a walk on the balcony? The view is spectacular at this time of night." Sophia hesitated, but something in Alexander's warm gaze made her accept. They moved away from Victoria, who remained watching with a disapproving expression. The balcony was indeed spectacular. The city stretched below them like a carpet of twinkling lights, and the night sky was surprisingly starry for a metropolis. "It's beautiful," Sophia murmured, momentarily forgetting her embarrassing situation. "Yes, it is," Alexander agreed, but when she looked at him, she realized he was looking at her, not at the view. "Sophia, may I ask you a personal question?" She nodded, nervous. "Why do you seem so surprised when someone is kind to you?" The question caught her off guard. Sophia looked away, focusing on the city lights. "I'm not used to it," she finally admitted. "People like me, well, we're usually invisible to people like you. People like us, rich, powerful, important." Alexander was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than before. "You know what I've learned in my 52 years in this world, Sophia? That money can buy many things, but it can't buy character. It can't buy kindness. It can't buy a genuine soul." He turned to face her. "And you, my dear, have one of the most genuine souls I've ever met." Sophia felt tears sting her eyes. "You don't even really know me, don't I?" Alexander smiled. "I know you work twice as hard as anyone at this party to support your family. I know you're studying nursing because you want to help people, not because you want money. I know you're ashamed to be here, but you can still talk to me as if we were old friends. I know you're brave, intelligent, and have a heart bigger than this entire building." "How do you know all this?" Sophia asked, genuinely perplexed. "Because I recognize in you something I lost long ago," Alexander replied. "Authenticity. In this world of appearances and social games, you are real. And that's more precious than any fortune." At that moment, they heard voices approaching the balcony. Victoria appeared, accompanied by a younger man in an expensive tuxedo. "Alexander, you need to meet Marcus," Victoria said with a forced smile. "He just returned from Harvard and is interested in investing in your next project." Marcus extended his hand to Alexander with a confident smile, but his eyes drifted to Sophia with a poorly disguised expression of disdain. "Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Montague," Marcus said. "I hope we can talk business, perhaps in a more appropriate environment." The insinuation was clear. Sophia was not welcome in the conversation. Alexander narrowed his eyes, and Sophia noticed a subtle change in his posture. He seemed taller, more imposing, more dangerous. "Actually," Alexander said in an icy voice Sophia hadn't heard before, "I was having a fascinating conversation with Sophia. She's telling me about her work saving lives. Much more interesting than discussions about profits and losses." Marcus blinked, clearly not expecting the response. "Ah, how noble. But I'm sure the young lady wouldn't mind giving us a moment of privacy to discuss serious business." "I would mind, actually," Alexander said, his voice even colder. "And Sophia isn't going anywhere. She's my guest of honor tonight." The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria and Marcus exchanged nervous glances, while Sophia felt as if the ground would open up and swallow her. "You're a guest of honor?" Victoria repeated, clearly incredulous. "Exactly," Alexander confirmed. "And now, if you'll excuse us, I'd like to continue my conversation with her without interruptions." Marcus opened his mouth to say something, but Alexander cut him off with a look that could have frozen fire. The two unwelcome visitors retreated, muttering apologies. When they were alone again, Sophia turned to Alexander, completely astonished. "Why did you do that?" she asked. "You didn't need to defend me. I know I don't belong here." "You're wrong," Alexander said firmly. "You belong here more than anyone at this party. You know why? Because you're real. Because you have values. Because you work hard for something you believe in." He paused, looking at the city below. "Sophia, can I tell you a secret?" She nodded. "This party is to celebrate the 25th anniversary of my company. 25 years building an empire, surrounded by people who only care about what I can do for them. Do you know how many genuine conversations I've had in the last 5 years? How many people actually cared about who I am, not what I own?" Sophia shook her head. "Zero," Alexander said. "Until tonight. Until you." "But I didn't even know who you were," Sophia protested. "Exactly," he smiled. "You talked to me because you wanted to, not because you needed something. You're the first person in years who sees me as Alexander, not as Mr. Montague the tycoon." At that moment, the music inside the ballroom changed to a soft waltz. Alexander straightened up and extended his hand to Sophia. "Would you give me the honor of dancing with me?" Sophia looked at his extended hand, then at the ballroom full of elegant people through the glass doors. "I don't know how to dance," she whispered. "Neither do I," Alexander lied with a mischievous smile. "Let's figure it out together." Sophia hesitated for just a moment before accepting his hand. Alexander led her back to the ballroom, and Sophia noticed that all conversations stopped when they appeared. All eyes were on them as Alexander led her to the center of the dance floor. "Ignore them," he murmured in her ear as he pulled her into his arms. "It's just the two of us." And then they danced. Alexander was an experienced dancer, of course, and guided Sophia gently across the floor. At first she was stiff, aware of the stares and whispers, but gradually relaxed in his arms. "See, you're a natural dancer," Alexander said, spinning her gracefully. "Or you're a patient teacher," Sophia replied, finally smiling. They danced 3 songs, lost in each other, completely forgetting the crowd watching them. Sophia had never felt so elegant, so special, so seen. When the music stopped, Alexander didn't release her immediately. They stood in the center of the floor, looking into each other's eyes. "Sophia," he said softly, "may I extend an invitation?" "Yes. Tomorrow night, there's a charity dinner for the Children's Hospital. Would you like to go with me? As my official date?" Sophia felt her heart race. I don't have anything to wear for such an occasion." "That's not a problem," Alexander said. "But the question is, would you like to go?" Sophia looked around the ballroom. Victoria was watching her with an expression of pure venom. Marcus was whispering something to a group of men, all looking in their direction. Other guests were gossiping among themselves, clearly speculating about who she was and where she had come from. "I would like to," she said finally. "But Alexander, those people are right. I don't belong in this world." "You're wrong," he said, lifting her hand to kiss her knuckles. "You're exactly what this world needs. You're what I need." At that moment, Sophia's phone rang. It was a cheap, loud sound that contrasted brutally with the elegance of the environment. She blushed furiously as she searched for the device in her pocket. "Sorry," she murmured, but Alexander shook his head. "Answer it," he said. "It might be important." Sophia looked at the screen. It was the hospital. "Hello," she answered, her heart racing. "Sophia, this is Nurse Janet. You need to come immediately. Your mother had a complication." Sophia's world stopped. The phone almost slipped from her hands. I'll be right there," she managed to say before hanging up. "What happened?" Alexander asked, immediately noticing the change in her expression. "My mother," Sophia said, tears finally overflowing. "She's in the hospital. I need to go." "Let's go," Alexander said immediately. No. Sophia shook her head. This is your party. You can't leave. Sophia, Alexander said firmly, placing his hands on her shoulders. These people can wait. Your mother can't. Before Sophia could protest again, Alexander gestured to one of his assistants who was nearby. James, I need you to handle things here, he said quickly. Something important came up. Yes, sir, James replied without hesitation. Alexander took Sophia by the hand and led her toward the elevator. As they passed the guests, Sophia heard the whispers explode. Where are they going? He's leaving his own party. Who is that girl? In the elevator, Sophia finally broke down. I ruined everything, she sobbed. I ruined your party, caused a scandal, and now my mother. Hey, Alexander said softly, pulling her into his arms. You didn't ruin anything. And your mother is going to be fine. You don't know that, Sophia cried. You're right, he admitted. But I know you're strong. I know you'll do whatever it takes for her. And I know you're not alone. The elevator reached the ground floor and Alexander led her out of the building. Outside, a driver waited with a black limousine. General Hospital, Alexander told the driver. Fast. During the ride, Sophia couldn't stop crying. Alexander said nothing, just held her hand and let her vent. She's all I have, Sophia finally said. My father abandoned us when I was little. My mother worked 3 jobs to raise me. When she got sick, it was my turn to take care of her. But the treatments are so expensive, and I don't earn enough. How much do you need? Alexander asked quietly. Sophia looked at him through her tears. What? For your mother's treatment. How much do you need? I can't ask you for money, Sophia said, horrified. I won't be your charity case. You're not a charity case, Alexander said firmly. You're someone I care about, someone who deserves help. But we barely know each other, Sophia protested. Sophia, Alexander said, taking her face in his hands. In 3 hours, you've shown me more genuine kindness than I've experienced in years. You've reminded me what it means to be human. If that's not worth helping, then nothing is. They arrived at the hospital, and Alexander accompanied Sophia to the intensive care unit. Her mother was stable but weak, and the doctors explained that she would need an expensive surgery that insurance wouldn't cover. I'll take care of it, Alexander said without hesitation. No, Sophia said firmly. I can't let you do that. You're not letting me do anything, Alexander replied. I'm choosing to do it. There's a difference. Over the next few days, Alexander not only paid for Sophia's mother's surgery, but also arranged for the best cardiac surgeon in the city to perform the operation. He visited the hospital daily, bringing flowers and sitting with Sophia during the long hours of waiting. Why are you doing all this? Sophia asked one evening as they sat in the hospital cafeteria. Because, Alexander said, reaching across the table to take her hand, for the first time in 25 years, I've found something real. Someone who sees me for who I am, not what I have. Someone who makes me want to be better. Sophia's mother's surgery was successful, and during her recovery, Alexander and Sophia grew closer. He took her to quiet dinners, walks in the park, and yes, to the charity gala where Sophia wore a beautiful gown that Alexander had insisted on buying for her. At the gala, Sophia was introduced as Alexander's girlfriend, and she handled the curious stares and whispered questions with grace and dignity. She spoke passionately about the importance of healthcare for the underprivileged, and by the end of the evening, she had helped raise an additional $50,000 for the children's hospital. You were magnificent tonight, Alexander told her as they danced. I had a good teacher, Sophia replied, smiling up at him. 6 months later, Alexander proposed to Sophia on the same balcony where they had shared their first real conversation. The ring was beautiful, but what mattered to Sophia was the love in his eyes and the promise of a future together. Their wedding was the event of the season, but instead of an ostentatious display of wealth, they chose to have a simple ceremony and donated what would have been spent on a lavish wedding to various charities. Sophia graduated from nursing school with honors, and with Alexander's support, she opened a free clinic for low-income families. Alexander, inspired by his wife's dedication to helping others, redirected much of his company's profits toward philanthropic endeavors. Victoria and Marcus, who had been so dismissive at the party, found themselves on the outside looking in as Alexander and Sophia became the most respected couple in the city, not for their wealth, but for their compassion and genuine care for others. Years later, when asked about the night they met, Alexander would always say, "Sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. Sophia walked into my world by accident, but she stayed because we were meant to find each other." And Sophia would add, "I thought I was lost that night, but I was exactly where I needed to be." Their love story became legendary in the city, a reminder that true love doesn't see bank accounts or social status, but the heart of the person standing before you. The cleaning cart that had brought Sophia to the 23rd floor by mistake was kept in Alexander's office as a reminder of the night that changed both their lives forever. It served as a symbol that sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin with a single wrong turn. And every year on the anniversary of that fateful night, Alexander and Sophia would return to that same balcony, look out at the city lights, and remember how a poor girl's mistake led to the love of a lifetime. The moral of their story was simple: kindness costs nothing, but it can be worth everything. And sometimes, the people who have the least are the ones who can teach us the most about what truly matters in life. What an incredible story, right? This just shows us that kindness and genuine connection can happen anywhere, anytime. Now tell me, what did you think of Alexander's reaction? Would you have done the same thing? And remember, if you have any similar stories or experiences where someone's kindness changed your life, share them in the comments below. Your story could be featured in our next video. Don't forget to like this video if it touched your heart, subscribe for more inspiring stories, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Until next time, keep spreading kindness wherever you go.